What if one moment could change a life forever? This is the inspiring story of how Donald Trump stopped his car for a homeless veteran and turned his life around. Donald Trump is known for his bold personality, business empire, and political career. But beyond the headlines, there are moments that reveal a different side of him. One such moment took place on a busy Florida street when Trump, on his way to a golf course, noticed an old man sitting quietly on the sidewalk. The man, Jim Wilson, was a former Army soldier who had fallen on hard times. Unlike others in similar situations, he wasn't begging or asking for money. He simply sat there, lost in thought. Something about Jim's quiet desperation struck a chord with Trump. Instead of driving past like everyone else, he made a decision that would change Jim's life forever. What happened next was an unexpected act of kindness that no one saw coming. It was a sunny afternoon in Florida, and Donald Trump was cruising down the road in his black SUV, heading toward his favorite golf course. His mind was occupied with business meetings, upcoming decisions, and the game ahead. As he glanced out the window, something unusual caught his eye near a busy intersection. An old man sitting on the sidewalk. His clothes were worn, his beard unkempt, and his posture slouched with exhaustion. Beside him lay a cardboard sign that read, "Homeless, served in the Army, need help." Trump had seen many struggling people before, but there was something different about this man. Unlike others, he wasn't calling out for spare change or pleading with passing cars. He just sat there in silence, staring into the distance as if he had already given up. For a moment, Trump felt a strange pull, an instinct he couldn't ignore. The light turned green, and his driver prepared to move forward. But Trump made a quick decision. "Pull over," he said firmly. His driver hesitated but obeyed. As the car slowed to a stop, Trump took a deep breath, stepping out onto the pavement. He wasn't sure what he was about to do, but he knew one thing: he couldn't just drive away. Trump stepped out of his SUV, the heat of the pavement rising beneath his polished shoes. His bodyguard stayed close, watching as he approached the old man sitting on the sidewalk. The veteran looked up, squinting against the sunlight, clearly surprised to see someone like Trump standing before him. There was no press, no cameras, just the two of them in an unexpected moment. "What's your name?" Trump asked, his voice firm yet surprisingly gentle. The man hesitated before answering. Jim Wilson," he said. Trump studied him for a moment. "You served in the Army, right?" Jim nodded. 3 years. But that was a long time ago," he said, his voice carrying a quiet sadness. Trump took a deep breath. "Well, Jim, I'm going to change your life today." Jim blinked in disbelief. He had heard empty promises before. He had seen people shake their heads and walk past him, offering pity, but never real help. But something about Trump's tone made him pause. There was certainty in his voice, an unwavering confidence that made Jim feel, if only for a moment, that maybe this wasn't just another false hope. Still skeptical, Jim listened as Trump continued. "I'm not just going to give you a few bucks and walk away. I know people who can help. I'll make sure you have a roof over your head, a job, and the respect you deserve." Jim swallowed hard. Could this really be happening? He had nothing left to lose, so he nodded slowly. "All right," he whispered. Trump gave a small, determined smile. "Good. Let's get started." True to his word, Trump wasted no time. He made a few calls, pulling strings that only someone with his influence could. Within hours, Jim was taken to a shelter, a clean, safe place where he could sleep without fear. There, he was given a warm meal, a fresh set of clothes, and a much-needed shower. It was the first time in years that he felt human again. But Trump didn't stop there. He knew that a temporary shelter wasn't enough. He reached out to some of his business connections, and within days, Jim was offered a job as a janitor at a local company. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work, a chance to rebuild his life with dignity. For the first time in a long time, Jim had purpose. Yet Trump understood that fixing the external problems wasn't enough. He also arranged for Jim to receive therapy, knowing that years on the streets and the trauma of war had left deep scars. With professional help, Jim slowly began to heal, learning to confront the pain he had carried for so long. As a final step, Trump helped Jim reconnect with a Veterans Association, an organization that would provide ongoing support, resources, and a sense of belonging. It was more than just charity. It was a second chance. For Jim, the world had always seemed like a place that had forgotten him. But now, for the first time in years, he felt seen. He felt valued. And most importantly, he felt like he had a future again. Weeks passed, and Jim slowly adjusted to his new life. Waking up in a real bed instead of a cold sidewalk felt surreal at first, but he embraced the change. Each morning, he put on his uniform and walked to work, determined to prove himself. As a janitor, the tasks were simple, but Jim approached them with discipline and dedication, the same qualities he had once carried as a soldier. His supervisors took notice, praising his work ethic and reliability. For the first time in years, he felt useful, like he belonged to something bigger than himself. Beyond work, therapy became another turning point. At first, opening up about his past felt impossible, but session by session, he started to process the pain he had buried for so long. The nightmares that had once haunted him began to fade, replaced by a growing sense of hope. He no longer saw himself as a broken man, but as someone rebuilding, one step at a time. With stability came confidence. Jim started walking taller, making eye contact, and even exchanging friendly words with coworkers. His past no longer defined him. His future did. Every day wasn't perfect, but it was a world away from the life he once knew. The shame of his homelessness slowly melted away, replaced by something he thought he had lost forever: dignity. One evening, after a long day at work, Jim stepped outside his small apartment and looked up at the sky. The air was cool, the stars scattered above him, and for the first time in years, he felt a sense of peace. He thought back to that moment on the sidewalk, the day he had expected to be just like any other, until a black SUV pulled over and changed everything. "I don't know why Trump chose me," Jim whispered to himself, "but I will be forever grateful." He had spent years feeling invisible, like the world had moved on without him. But one act of kindness had given him another chance, had reminded him that he was still worth something. It wasn't just about the shelter, the job, or the therapy. It was about being seen, about knowing that someone believed he deserved better. As he stood there, breathing in the night air, he realized how different his life could have been if Trump had simply driven past like everyone else. Sometimes, it only takes one person to make a difference. One decision, one moment, can change everything. And as Jim looked toward the future, for the first time in a long time, he felt hopeful. What do you think of this incredible story? Let us know in the comments below. Jim's journey is a powerful reminder that one act of kindness can change a life forever. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting content. Your support helps us bring more real-life stories that touch the heart and remind us of the good in the world. Stay tuned. There's so much more to come.